in our case, of course, to learners and students. According to the Metaverse Roadmap Summit, the diagram shown in this slide shows the fourth category of the metaverse. Now it includes virtual reality, augmented reality, and video, allowing people to connect, socialize, play, learn, buy items, having fun, and much, much more. Big tech companies, including Microsoft and Google, but also gaming big names such as Roblox, Minecraft, and Fortnite, appear to be highly involved and investing in the virtual environment. Some people think, many people think that the metaverse is exclusively about gaming, which is not. Learning is the metaverse primary industry context and entrepreneurship channel. And gathering information on the academic metaverse is indeed a significant method for pursuing the route of educational advancement, redefine the connection between school subjects, and focus on solving societal problems like, for instance, quality education. And I guess we need quality education in the higher education sector. Of course, the metaverse is a wholly ecosystem, including many components. I don't want to mention all of them. You have the slides and we can discuss if you want in the discussion panel. But the question is how it might be used to modify, improve, and revolutionize higher education. If the answer to this is not easy to this question, at least there is a need for a less symmetric, more adaptable, accredited, and hybridized system for higher education, which adjusts to and preferably anticipate change in a more VUCA for, of course, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity world. Also, in this ecosystem, avatars characterize individuals, and they can communicate with other individuals and components within the same setting. So another question comes to mind: may we expect professor to be replaced by avatars in the coming years or maybe months? Nobody knows. Just let's wait and see, as I can say. There are, of course, many fields where the metaverse is used, such as natural science, mathematics, arts, and the humanities, business administration with the DIO or decentralized autonomous organization, but also in the corporate world, especially for upskillings, as they provide unique, as I said before, and immersive experience to learners. And many corporates start to use the metaverse for training, for upskillings, and so on. For the education sector, I want to focus on this communication or presentation. A large part of higher education's development will be digital to a certain extent because of many factors, including the rise of global digital economy, as we know, the development of a more centric learner industry, and because of the pandemic, or because what has been experiencing since 2 years now. Experts predict digital education to be worth 3,500 billion by 2025. The digital learning platform Educ alone grow from 81 million total global enrollments in 2019 to over 1,100 million international registration in 2020. With that said, digital education provides versatility and agility where required, and allow learners to acquire proficiency quickly. Now, unfortunately, we don't have time to go deeper into the web evolution or history. Just a reminder, the Web3, also known as the spatial web, on which relies the metaverse is a legitimate extension of the Web 2. It's about harnessing new technologies to bring context to content, as well as inventing ways to engage with our surrounding. It makes it easier for students, for consumers, in case of corporates, for example, to locate data and communicate with it in deeper, productive, and meaningful manners. But there is still another question: at what expense to the students' ability to study and interpret material for themselves in a metaverse environment? The next big challenge for higher education is definitely the metaversity of, or we also call it the meta university. So is it a dream? Is it a reality? Or in road to this postmodern era, which is of course the metaverse, to the establishment sorry, sometimes reality technology company engage, and some partners like Victory XR, for example, and collaborate to launch at least 10 virtual twin campuses known as meta universities. The first list, as you can see in this slide, include many well-known or big names, as we say, in the higher education sector. But we have also other, like, for example, in the Middle East, we have the University of Bahrain, and in China too, and many other big names in the higher education sectors who are involved in the meta, let's say, to launch their meta universities. Victory XR CEO Steve Grubb said, when the history of metaverse education is written, these are the schools and universities that will be known as the metaverse pioneers. Of course, you may ask what's the potential and why we are talking a lot about the metaversity and the meta higher education, is, if I can call it like that. There are, of course, many potential benefits. I already mentioned some of them, but in addition to what you see and what you can read in this slide, with potential come also consequences. And nobody knows how well the metaverse will evolve in the next years. Several of the prospective problems are related to digital experiences, in particular, data protection, confidentiality, as well as ethical behavior have started to rise in these new settings, and morals of how technology might be employed in the coming years. In addition, of course, to the instruction in the classroom have been, for example, challenging for learners and professors to regulate with cell phones. How will they cope with modern augmented reality and virtual reality technologies? Now, the question, are African universities ready for these disruptions? Certain African colleges start to embrace the metaverse advancement as a revolutionary tool in educating and learning, while many others might even be hesitant because of technical and cultural barriers. The early efforts on Africa's metaverse journey were unveiled in collaboration with the Eon Reality, a leading global provider in both virtual and augmented reality, based skills and information transmission for education and business. And please note that I am not here to promote any company, but because they work really with Eon Reality company. For instance, In addition to that, the University of Nigeria will incorporate a learning metaverse center into its Lion Science Park Health Hub by offering students and teachers with solutions via extended reality. And also because of Eon Reality is indeed collaborating with Ethiopia's Ministry of Education to develop a learning metaverse center for learners, instructors, as well as entrepreneurs. Also, for example, always in Africa, Honoris United Academic Institutions, a Pan-African system of private educational institutions, is deploying augmented reality and virtual reality software across its universities. Of course, there are many issues and barriers to be fixed before Africa will be partially or fully immersed, including, for example, or for instance, filling the digital gap in Africa, digital infrastructure, investing in higher education, not only for a better Africa, but for a better world too. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but you may find a lot or some references in the final, or if you want, I can also share the PowerPoint presentation, so you can find many references, and some of my modest articles I already published on LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Wow. If you can remove your if you can move your screen for a minute, that would be wonderful.
Excuse me.
All right. Okay. Yeah, if you can move your screen.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Can stop sharing.
Okay, so
can stop sharing.
Yes, if you can just stop sharing your screen, so we can have the.
Of course, I can.
Just.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's wonderful. We got you. Thank you so much, Dr. Tani. That was a fabulous presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the upcoming digital disruption in higher education. All right, we're getting a lot more specific, and you have heard that presentation. Some lady here in the Chicago area, a couple of months back, called me up, said, Professor King, I need you to view this. It's called Metaverse. And I'm like, what is that? And it said it is a new thing that is going to transform the entire world. You're going to be sitting and doing this. Say you are working with lots of population in Africa. You're going to need this. And she got me into it. And to take a look at this paper and this presentation today, I am telling you, it is something that we've got to look at. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring in some phenomenal discussants to come to the table, and let's have this discussion going. First on the list, I'm going to be calling on Mr. Samson Kofi Adote. Mr. Adote is actually from African Institute of Mathematical Sciences. He is a grassroots education advocate and process facilitator. He is, of course, a senior management outreach at that institute and doing quite a bit of global networking activities. This brother is huge. I'm not going to have the time to talk about all of his great accolade, but when he comes on board, you're going to see him in a minute. I do want to introduce everybody so that as you come in, we can kind of just move right along. Next person on my list would be Dr. Rogers, all right? Dr. Rogers is another phenomenal brother that we have here. He is, if I can find his information, I'm not sure I have it. But I believe Dr. Rogers, let me see here. He's going to be one of the speakers, and we can talk about him in a little bit. Professor Emeritus Professor Nelson Ijumba. He is an international research and innovation program manager at Coventry University, basically Coventry African Hub, and had been advised chancellor and at a university. He is currently working quite a bit in this area and very experienced to take us along. I can go through all of his bio, knowing that we kind of gonna cut down on the time and have them do a lot of the talking. Miss Veronica Ziagu is Chief Tech Officer at All African Students Union. These are the team that we are putting together. We're going to hear a little more about them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have you ready as the panelists to discuss this important issue as we touch on metaverse. And one thing I want you to think of is the topic of this conference, why we are here. As you discuss, let's talk about how this Afrofuturism, this upcoming disruption, is going to have an impact with African development when we look at what it's going to be doing from the higher education perspective. You and I know our universities are the growth pole in Africa. How will we tap on these metaverse and this disruption for the benefit of African development? So I do want to hear your take on, from your perspective of your experience and all that you have done. How can we utilize this for the benefit of African development, and starting from the higher education perspective? I can open that up and we can start with whoever maybe kind of just wants to get started. Mr. Kofi Adote, you probably can be the one to go ahead and get started.
Hi, Margaret. Thank you. I hope I'm audible enough for everyone to hear. Interesting presentation, Dr. Tani, and this subject of metaverse is is one that has piqued a number of interest over the past few months and perhaps a year or two. What I'd like to say, or my submission towards this, is if you look in at the African landscape as it is today, and as we're recovering from COVID-19, there are a number of things that we need to do to be able to get ready for the metaverse. Of course, the metaverse sort of presents an opportunity for us to leapfrog and perhaps, take advantage of technology to, enhance our ability to upskill quickly. However, we need to figure out a few things first. One of the things is, how do we, revitalize higher education in Africa? How do we ensure that access is mainstreamed to everybody? Not everybody graduating out of high school today is able to get into a university. And issues around access continues to remain a very big concern to many people. Beyond access, affordability also continues to be another challenge. And I see the metaverse again as an opportunity for us to be able to leapfrog some of the challenges that we have currently. There are a number of opportunities that exist. And when you look at a metaverse as an example, or you narrow down to extended reality or virtual reality, it allows for a very different way of learning, which is not something that a lot of young people are used to. The traditional setting is to go into a lecture hall, sit down, and allow the professor to come teach the class and all of that. The metaverse allows us to do things in a very playful way. in a way and manner that allows everybody, regardless of your learning capabilities, to be able to navigate the context that you're, examining. So if you're taking a class in history, for instance, maybe the history of Ethiopia or perhaps the history of Ghana or whichever country it is, the metaverse through extended reality or virtual reality allows for this to be much more imaginative and to feel real, such that we're able to tell stories of the past in a very entertaining but also very educative manner. The metaverse as it is holds a lot of promise, but for us to be able to get to use the metaverse as it is, the number of things we need to figure out. So I'd sort of say that one of the things that we need to think about when we're revitalizing higher education in Africa is, what are some of the models that we could consider to make access possible? Can we perhaps look at blended and modular learning as an example? Can we also in that process think around customizing people's experiences? Because not every student in a lecture room learns the same way courses are being delivered. So how do we identify those gaps that exist? And how do we support students to be able to ensure that we're preparing them for the future of work? I spend a lot of my time researching at the University of Cape Town, where I'm looking at how we can prepare young people for the future of work, specifically focused on the fourth industrial revolution. And one of the things that I've come to accept, or one of the things that I've come to learn from my experience speaking to, learners and university students in South Africa, Ghana, and Rwanda, is that digital literacy continues to remain a big challenge. And we need to find a way to navigate that so that the issue of the metaverse would not be so far from us in a place like Africa and perhaps in the Caribbean or some other place where we have issues around digital literacy. So that's my submission and my thoughts on your presentation, Dr. Tani.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Well put, Mr. Sampson there. Let's get to Dr. Rogers from the Free University of the Great Lakes countries. Take the floor, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the floor. But I don't know if you can allow me to speak in French as a French discussant. Is it possible?
Oui.
Merci.
Okay, we might not just be able to respond. I was thinking there is a section of folks, if you speak in English and they are actually translating in French. I'm not sure of that. Usually we would have that in the breakout room, but please go right ahead.
Thank you. Je voudrais en fait, dans ce sujet sur the upcoming digital disruption in higher education, je voudrais revenir dans cet aspect en commençant comme on parle du passé, présent et futur. Donc, je voudrais revenir sur un certain nombre d'aspects par rapport à cette histoire, d'où nous venons, où nous sommes et où est-ce que nous aimerions aller avec Metaverse. Vous vous rappellerez que le contexte COVID-19 a occasionné la fermeture des écoles dans le monde pour arrêter la propagation de la pandémie. Mais vous savez aussi, avant cela, certains pays en Afrique, dont la République démocratique du Congo, ont fait face à Ebola. En effet, l'une des premières mesures pour stopper la propagation du COVID, ça a été le confinement de la population. Et dans cette phase, les écoles ont été fermées ici et là, obligeant les enfants, les jeunes, les enseignants à tous les niveaux du système éducatif de rester à leur domicile. Cela a entraîné non seulement la perturbation du calendrier scolaire, entraînant l'allongement des années scolaires, mais également en soumettant les apprenants à un rythme d'enseignement et d'apprentissage inhabituel. En effet, ne sachant pas quand la COVID allait passer, les écoles ont été encouragées à faire participer leurs apprenants à une forme d'enseignement virtuel. En effet, les recherches montrent bien sûr que le numérique constitue un levier efficace et efficient pour parer à certaines difficultés que peuvent créer les catastrophes naturelles, telles que les inondations, les incendies, les pandémies. Et nous avons vu la rescousse d'éthique à l'éducation dans les contextes Covid se voir à travers la croissance donc d'un certain nombre de programmes d'enseignement en ligne à travers différentes plateformes. Par ailleurs, les recherches montrent que l'enseignant est un facteur clé dans l'exploitation pédagogique des NTIC, ce qui exige des changements de sa part, nécessitant un accompagnement pédagogique adéquat. Et d'où, dans ma réflexion, je me posais quelques questions. Comment est-ce que les institutions d'enseignement ont-ils intégré l'éthique dans ces contextes Covid? Comment est-ce que les enseignants ont été préparés à intégrer cette éthique? En fait, les réponses se situent à différents niveaux. Il ressort des recherches que le niveau d'intégration des NTIC dans les établissements d'enseignement, en fait, reflète bien le niveau de préparation des enseignants. Les écoles qui ont mieux préparé leurs enseignants à intégrer les NTIC, dans ces écoles, il y a une meilleure intégration des NTIC. Mais dans l'ensemble, les recherches montrent qu'au niveau africain, que cette intégration reste très, très basse parce que le personnel n'a pas été suffisamment préparé, comme professeur Tani a dit, à cause de plusieurs facteurs que je ne vais pas citer ici. Alors, vous allez constater que les NTIC sont intégrés dans les enseignements à différents niveaux. Au niveau des institutions d'enseignement supérieur, à travers les cours que nous savons, chez nous, par exemple, il y a des cours d'informatique à différents niveaux d'enseignement. Même au niveau du primaire, certaines écoles intègrent cela, au niveau du secondaire, mais au niveau aussi de l'enseignement supérieur. Mais ce qu'il faut dire, que ces enseignements sont enseignés de façon théorique, comme si on enseignait l'histoire, comme si on enseignait l'histoire, comme si on enseignait la géographie, et donc des enseignements plus théoriques que pratiques. Et pourquoi? Parce qu'il y a un problème des ressources de ces technologies-là. L'infrastructure technologique n'est pas appropriée. Beaucoup d'institutions d'enseignement supérieur n'en ont pas. Chez nous, par exemple, dans mon pays, où les institutions pullulent comme des boutiques, où on va le savoir, eh bien, il y a des institutions où il n'y a même pas des ordinateurs. Mais l'enseignement, quand même, il y a un cours qui s'appelle informatique. Et donc, les étudiants peuvent sortir avec un 20 sur 20 maximum, 100% des points, mais sans avoir des compétences nécessaires pour l'usage de NTIC. Alors, moi, je me dis maintenant, si Metaverse doit être intégré, donc, comment est-ce que moi, je me pose la question? Nous devons revenir sur le niveau de base, le niveau de préparation des enseignants. Comment est-ce que ces enseignants sont préparés, même pour l'usage des outils de base que nous donnent nos laptops, nos ordinateurs? Quels sont les outils de base? Je voudrais peut-être ici poser la question de savoir, nous qui avons le laptop, tel que nous suivons ici dans ce débat, nous utilisons combien de pourcents de potentialité de nos ordinateurs? Vous allez voir que peut-être, si nous allons dans ce landscape de l'usage de l'ordinateur, peut-être que nous utilisons très peu de pourcents. Ou vous allez voir, les gens utilisent Word pour saisir les textes. Et peut-être nous, les enseignants, on utilise un peu de PowerPoint juste pour présenter les enseignements. Alors, si on doit utiliser Metaverse, maintenant, j'ai dit, mais avec quel enseignant? Si Metaverse est une opportunité, parce que le Dr Tani a dit c'est une opportunité. Et si c'est une opportunité, à quel niveau l'est-elle? À quel niveau l'est-elle? Ou est-ce que ce n'est pas une menace, comme on dit, pour le travail, pour le futur travail, par exemple, des enseignants? Bon, c'est à ce niveau-là que nous devons maintenant réfléchir. Et là, moi, j'ai dit, c'est l'enseignant qui doit intégrer, qui doit faciliter, parce que pour que cette intégration soit effective, il faudrait que les enseignants soient capables, soient préparés à intégrer le métaverse. Mais comment alors ils vont intégrer le métaverse s'ils ne connaissent même pas les outils de base, les outils nécessaires, même l'informatique élémentaire, les enseignants ne sont pas suffisamment préparés. Alors quel est le futur? Et donc, pour ce futur, pour le prochain, moi je pense que les actions à mener prioritairement seraient d'abord la préparation ou la formation des enseignants sur l'intégration effective de ces outils, mais aussi équiper les institutions d'enseignement avec les outils, les infrastructures de technologie, de l'information et de la communication appropriées. Et cela demande de moyens. J'ai suivi dans la présentation introductive qu'il faut trouver des moyens pour passer les stades de discours. Sinon, nous allons rester dans les discours et Metaverse pendant qu'il sera en train d'évoluer. Parce que ce qui est vrai avec Dr Tani, que Metaverse est déjà là. Il ne va pas attendre que nous, enseignants, nous soyons préparés. C'est nous qui devons nous préparer afin de l'intégrer. Si nous ne le faisons pas, nous allons rester derrière. J'ai dit et je vous remercie. Je pourrais maintenant poursuivre la suite du débat en anglais, il n'y aura pas de souci. Merci beaucoup.
Can I say something, please?
Yes. Please go right ahead.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup pour cette intervention. He talked about the metaverse and how can we use it, because from his point of view that I respect, we are not well prepared. So, and my colleague who talked before Mr. Roger, I am so sorry, I missed his name, also talked about digital literacy, and I completely agree with him. I fully agree with him. So I will try to answer as much as I can, because I think that these technologies, now we are talking about, you know, when you go back to the web history, to the history of the web, it's going exponentially, especially during the last years. Okay, so, but all the questions rely and focus on ourselves. How can we be well prepared? And nobody, I'm sorry, talked about the generation to come. When we talk about the evolution of the web, of the next generation of the internet, because there is a change, if I can say, and you can help me in English, please. If you can help me to find some, the exact word in English, please. So the next generation, I mean, the generation is well involved in the web. My son, I have always been teaching at the university, ICT. But sometimes my son, who is 14 years old, helped me to fix some issues related to technology. They don't, I mean, they use it daily. So we have to think about the next generation who are digital native, I will say. Miss Margaret, I think that the metaverse can provide a huge opportunity for Africa. I live in the United States. I like this country, but we have the most beautiful continent in the world, which is Africa. And I believe that we have great African minds. So let's stop to consume information from others. We have to stand out and to create content. When you talk about to create content about the metaverse or about digital, I dream of a global university about digital skills and digital literacy. So let's connect Let's do something for our country. And when you talk that we don't have skills, we have to prepare, I think there is training, but there is also what we call in French, auto-formation, auto-training, self-training. You have all the electronic resources in the internet. I can help. African universities free of charge to educate students, maybe my colleagues, my friends, on digital literacy and how we can get skills. We don't have to be afraid about technology. We don't have to be afraid of technology. And I focused in this presentation because of time on the higher education sector, but we can talk about the opportunities the metaverse can bring to our economy, to highlight African arts, to highlight African beauty, African patrimoine. I don't know, we have a lot of things to do and to highlight to the world, to show to the world. We don't have to be always, I don't know how to say, c'est-à-dire on ne doit pas être passif. Can you help me to translate this, please? Nous ne devons pas être passif, mais plutôt actif. Please translate this word, this sentence.
You're saying that we need to be active?
Not.
To be active in that process. We need to be
active and not passive.
Yeah, we need to be active. Yes.
To be active.
Yeah.
Must be active.
Yeah.
Not passive.
All right. We need to be active and not passive. We do not need to be consumers, but we can be producers. All right, and that's what I want to see as we move towards the adoption of the challenges and the benefits that metaverse is bringing to higher education as we talk about Afrofuturism, this upcoming thing and the development of Africa, again, starting from the university. Ms. Neka Obasi, of course, she's a French teacher. I'm going to take you, but I want to cut down on those questions right now because I still have two speakers that need to address this issue. So, but I'm going to take you because you have your hand up. I do want to discourage others from speaking now until I have my two discussants have their input on this. Ms. Neka Obasi, I'm excited you're here. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean
That's all right. That's all right. I'm glad we have you because you interpreted from French, the French.
Yeah, thank you so much. So please excuse me, everybody. Good evening. I'm sorry if I don't remember people's name. The gentleman who spoke in French raised a really good issue about training of teachers. Mm-hmm. And the lady who responded talked about how we can self-train, how there are those who train for free. But the point I want to make is sometimes if you don't know where to get the knowledge. Training of teachers is a huge issue. Our kids might be very literate and savvy when it comes to technology, but still they rely on teachers to teach them. And so we have to be very deliberate in the education of teachers. We can't just leave it and say, oh, you fall to debrouiller, like you teach yourself and so on. This is an issue, not just where it comes to tech in Africa, but where it comes to all aspects, that we have to find a way to bring a focus on educating teachers, giving them time to practice, giving them time to be comfortable with technology and so on. And it's very generous to offer yourself to say, I can teach, but Africa is huge. And so if there's not a deliberate platform set up for teacher education, we're just going to keep having this same conversation in the next 2 years, 5 years. That's to thank you so much for.
Thank you so much. That's your territory, Neka Vassar, I appreciate you. If you can lower your hand, that would be wonderful. Let's have our next discussant to take the floor and answer the same question. We're kind of looking at your perspective here in light of this disruption in higher education, what that means for African development. We'd like to hear your perspective. And the next person here is Emeritus Professor Nelson Ijumba. Please take the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Keith. And also I'd like to thank Dr. Tani for the presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Can you see me?
No, we cannot see you. Oh,
Now it's better. We can see you now.
That's better. Okay.
Okay. So sorry we came in late, but I've read Dr. Tani's paper and we had part of our presentation. In terms of the questions you're asking, I don't think there's any doubt about how the introduction of digital technology in higher education has been a big, big disruptor. As they say, for every problem, there's a silver lining. There are issues about resources, about financing, about how African institutions would cope. But on the other hand, I think it has been an opportunity for many higher learning institutions to be able to adapt to the new technologies. And if you look at the statistics, the uptake of online opportunities in terms of students and courses, the growth is the highest in Africa. So there's a lot of potential. Now, what are the challenges? The issue of financing, which I propose how it can be overcome. Then, of course, the issue of capacity building. And I think the other one is the question of how our universities or higher learning institutions can respond to that challenge. One of the ways of responding is how the institutions can change the curriculum and change it in such a way that they train their students to prepare them for the future of work. And that is important because many of the students that are being trained are going to work in environments that are adapting a fourth industrial generation revolution technology. So it's important that the curriculum is shaped in collaboration with industry, and there's effective collaboration between industry and higher learning institutions so that the students that come out of those institutions are able to make contributions to those industries. And in any case, the industries have an interest because they need the human resources, and also they need people who can use the technology that they are developing. So it's important that there is that collaboration, which can actually overcome the issue of the fear of lack of money, because if a university partners with Google will be very much interested to promote its technology and have its resources available for the universities so that the students can be trained in that kind of technology. And then, of course, the other issue I wanted to say about the opportunities is that there is no use, as we have said by Dr. Tani, that we need to be active, proactive, instead of being passive and always waiting for new ideas to come, and then we push them back with this issue of we have no capacity, we have no money, we have no resources. I think we need to be resourceful. Africa has a lot of resources. Africa can capitalize on the diaspora to be able to get the necessary manpower and capacity to be able to teach the students, rather than present these pushback reactions to new technology, saying that we are disadvantaged content. Actually, we are not disadvantaged. We have got lots of opportunities. We have got lots of resources. And I think we can be part of the fourth industrial revolution if we play our cards right. That's what I want to say. Yes, there are challenges, but also there are many, many more opportunities. A study has been conducted which says that the apparent loss of jobs by the introduction of technology is much, much less than the opportunities that are coming up because of adoption of new technology. So we need to really make sure that our young people are prepared to capitalize on the emerging technologies by giving the right kind of education And we can only do that if we collaborate with the industries, because they have the technology and they need the capacity, they need the people to be trained to be able to work in those technologies, and they're willing to collaborate. So it's up to higher learning institutions to be more proactive and be able to capitalize on those opportunities. Thank you very much. And thanks, Tani, for the very, very excellent paper you presented on the metaverse. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. Great presentations and discussion surrounding it. Let me bring my last discussion on this, and then we will ask maybe one more question and then open it up to the floor for everyone to participate. At this moment, I do want to bring Ms. Veronica, the Chief Technical Officer at All African Students Union. Take the floor, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Kenya, and good afternoon, fellow distinguished participants. My name is Veronica Jiagu, and I'm representing the All Africa Students Union. I'm here to present the perspective of young people as far as the discussion topic is concerned. I must say that most of the points we have here have been raised, but just to emphasize some of the things, particularly from the perspective of young people on the continent. Our first point is that the current population of Africa, which is estimated to be about 1.2 billion, accounts for 17% of the world's total population and has an average age of 19.5 years. And so Africa has a very young population. After Asia, Africa is the continent with the second highest population density in the world. And in addition to this, it is the continent with the youngest population that is economically active. As time goes on, and the point I want to make here is that the next generation, Professor Tani said, the next generation, we must take action for the next generation. I want to say that the next generation is here because we have very young population on the continent. And as time goes on, it's becoming increasingly obvious that the line separating fiction and reality is becoming increasingly blurry, in that technology has advanced to the point where we now have artificial intelligence and machine learning, robotics, nanotechnology, 3D printing, etc. I mean, we heard some of the speakers talking about the metaverse. Growth rates have averaged 5% over the past 15 years, and 6 countries on the continent are among the top 10 in the world's most dynamic economies in this region, which is one of the regions experiencing the fastest rate of economic growth. The reality of tomorrow is that Afrofuturism is possible, and that through quality education, we'll have a world in which Africa has reclaimed its place in the world by channeling the power of its children and young people through quality and relevant education. Emphasis on that. We strongly hope that the commitments that were made by ministers at the Pan-African High-Level Conference in 2018, the ongoing support provided by the Global Partnership for Education, and the voices of children and youth will make it possible for this to become a reality. The COVID-19 pandemic has forever changed education, and there's no going back. It is now the responsibility of our governments, regulatory and higher education institutions to harness the opportunities offered for adaptation and innovation of education. After being out of school for close to a year at the height of the pandemic, and witnessing the distinctive rise of remote learning through tech-based platforms, we are now familiar with the benefits and challenges of integrating technology into learning within varied contexts. Disruption certainly outweigh the challenges relative to the traditional modes of delivering education. We should therefore fully embrace this shift and mutual era The general consensus is that participation in formal education will continue to expand, and the structures and processes of school will largely remain. We are, however, going to see more individualized learning aided by technological devices and international collaboration. Diversity and experimentation is going to become the norm. Education will take place everywhere, anytime, and the distinction between formal and informal learning will increasingly become blurred. Education, civic engagement, and social innovation is going to become more interconnected. The question is, how are we prepared for this? So we have a number of questions we want to put across for reflection. One, how are higher education institutions responding to the new realities now that the physical presence is no longer an essential requirement for learning? Do the higher education institutions have the requisite infrastructure to ensure effective delivery of online learning? How quickly are higher education institutions able to get relevant resources online for students? How are higher education institutions linking the growth in adoption of technology with curriculum and student preparation? And what are the new pathways for skills delivery for the new economy? Are higher education institutions adequately prepared with the appropriate content to meet the requirements of our context to ensure that our education remains relevant? How can online learning be used to impart the skills that are important for success in the future? And finally, how are higher education institutions partnering edtech companies to expand access to online learning such that disadvantaged students are not left behind? These are certainly not exhaustive, but worth considering as part of the foundational questions that should be explored and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Victoria, for those discussions that you have raised with the questions and responding to a phenomenal presentation and this issue in disruption that is coming in higher education. At this moment, I'm going to sort of just put my questions behind because of time, because I do want to make sure we get a heated discussion where it is open up to everybody. Quite a bit has been discussed here, but let's also include in our discussions and in our Q&A the involvement of our diaspora Africans. How their skills and their exposures, their resources, their technological know-how can be sort of engaged to make sure we are all moving at the right direction. When new technologies come up, when new potential issues come up, we find that we get left behind. We are focusing on others. You know, who are the others? We are part of the world and we need to be a part of it when it is coming and be prepared. So how do we engage our diaspora brothers and sisters? We've talked about some of those issues, their role, how relevant are they? Let's think about, in light of maybe we are coming in, our Dr. Tani, according to her, has just relocated from Algeria, I believe, to the US just a couple of years back, but she is an African and has her Africanness, as we heard the young people talk about it, in her. So if you have the best of both worlds, you are an African, you are also learning from outside. I believe we should come together in the issue of diaspora continental collaboration so that we are not looking at, we are apart. Who is a diaspora? And you're still an African, right? You may happen to live in a different region of the world, but our thing at this moment should be, how do we connect to Africa? How do we get what we have learned, whether it is in metaphors and crowd computing or in any of these areas, okay? How do we use our skills to be able to work with a higher educations and support in Africa and build the mistrust that may happen, create a unity that should be there, not some kind of a Cold War or antagonism or some kind of undue competition. Oh, okay, you're from the diaspora, you think you're better than I am. That attitude should not be there. Or I am in the continent, maybe you think I'm inferior. There's nothing like that. So I want to see how we can use this to bridge those issues where, oh, there is an innovation that is happening here, and Africans, we need to be ready and prepared and be a part of this. So let's have this discussion going. I'm opening it up. If you have, let's talk about those issues. Young people, they are very talented. We know that the tech world is theirs, all right? How do we use their energy? Africa is the youngest, I would say, population in the world now. How do we tap from the resources we already have? Africa is the richest continent in the world. Let's have that for one. The resources the world are lying about, how are we going to use this disruption, or the world that are lying about in our continent to be in the forefront and make it beneficial? We have the resources. We just need to figure out how to tap from them and be at the forefront of this upcoming quote disruption that we can turn to revolutionize our higher education and development in Africa. The floor is open for a discussion in those areas. Over to you.
It's really a great session, I think. Thank you for all your insights. And I learned a lot from you too. I think we should start from this session, and we have to identify great minds in higher education sectors in Africa first, and to work with the private sector. I think that's what makes a difference in a country like America, because private sectors work easily with the academic one, with the public one. Even in my country, Algeria, it's an issue to collaborate between private and public sector. So I think that we have the digital is a powerful tool that we have to use properly to connect first with each other, to connect academia with industry. That's very, very important, because the metaverse or maybe another technology to come can be used in, as I said before, in different sectors, including but not limited to the higher education sector. So to answer your question, I think that we have to use the digital first to create a network between academia and industry. And when it comes to when we talk about higher education, we always focus on long-term certification, or it has to change, I think. I'm so sorry, but it has to change. We have the long-term education, but we also have the short-term education, and the world is focusing on that, on the short-term training and education. Why am I talking about, and why is it so important to collaborate between academia and industry? You may find someone who who is not a PhD, but who has skills in the metaverse, in IoT, I have many in my professional network, on LinkedIn, for example, many great minds from Africa and from over the world. They don't have a PhD, but they still are skilled. So if we need them to give some training, we have to do it. I'm not saying that we don't need PhD or we don't need, no, it's not what I said, that we have to rethink higher education sector. We have to rethink. We don't have to stay stereotype. I mean, we have to rethink higher education and to do things differently. I don't know if I don't remember all the questions, but
you're in the right direction, and I truly appreciate it. But I do want to sort of just put it out there because our time is going, so others can join in. Thank you for your fabulous response. And let's get practical with the change in our curriculum to be prepared with this. Again, there are a whole lot of challenges. Yes, we've talked about financing. We've talked about the issue of access, the resources, the infrastructure. Are we prepared? And we've even talked about how it might even replace professors, right? As we look at this virtual reality. But the issue is, are we prepared? What can we do? Should we be focusing on only the questions or the challenges? I do want to hear proposed solution. I do want to hear how we can put ourselves in a position that we can adopt this, and of course focusing more on practical education in terms of our curriculum and decolonizing our minds to be able to have the type of education that works for Africa, something that is hands-on, not for our young people to finish college and you mentioned something, they're like, okay, I was supposed to be I had a major in what? Computers, but maybe I have never really seen a computer. Maybe I don't even know how to turn it. I only hear about it in theory. So how do we position ourselves to tackle this and make these rewarding? Dr. Rogers, I can take you, if you can do it very briefly, but I do see a hand from the AAU room. If you can give 1 minute, let's take, I've seen a hand. Is that you, Dr.?
It's Professor
Okay, please take the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll be quick. In terms of the practical solutions, you mentioned the question of the diaspora. I think there is a very big opportunity for the diaspora to participate in the uptake of digital technology on the African continent. As you said, there is no need for this attitude. No. And if you may allow that, the way the attitude developed was because you had people who went to study in the West. Some of them, because of opportunity there, they decided to stay. Others came back, but because there are no opportunities for them to apply the knowledge they had because of lack of facility, they decided to go back. It was like, rather than have my brain in the drain, I'd rather be part of the brain drain. Now, there's been that develops some sort of animosity that you're abandoning your continent. But now, as time went on, people realized that instead of calling brain drain, let's call it brain circulation. If there is proper collaboration, the knowledge and facilities that the diaspora has can be used for the benefit of the continent, as Dr. Tani said. So there's no need of not working together. So one of the practical solutions is to have effective collaboration between the diaspora. And these days, people don't have to travel from the diaspora to the continent. There's digital technology, so they can share their knowledge online. You can share the equipment virtually because of MetaSafe. It is very, very easy now to collaborate between the African continent and the diaspora. So the diaspora can contribute in terms of raising funds to support institutions on the continent, but also sharing their knowledge and their networks, because they are very well networked. There are people in Google, in NASA, in Facebook, and they can share this knowledge. And then the question of what my colleague here raised, at the time, about how higher institutions are going to respond to the impact. Yes, there's going to be a lot of brick and mortar available on campuses, and I think universities can make use of these empty spaces by using them to raise funds, maybe adding them to small and business enterprises to become digital innovation hubs, so that there are benefits for everybody. The challenges, she said, are very, very much minimized by the opportunities that are rising out of higher education institutions adopting new technologies in collaboration with people from the diaspora. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we're talking about cost-benefit analysis, actually, that the benefits outweigh the cost, and we need to look into this and be a part of it while it is just starting. Another issue with the diaspora continental collaboration, that from our Global Institute perspective that we really, really, really promote, you do not need to relocate from the diaspora to live in the continent before you think you can contribute to the success of higher education and advancement in development. Again, with this technology coming up, the metaverse, the virtual reality and all that, we basically can contribute. So appreciate that. That's where we're going. We had a young man right behind you that had his hand up. I would appreciate it if he can go right ahead before we take Professor Rogers.
Good morning, Professor. My name is Atse Kambu Marcel. I am a General Coordinator of African Network of Young Researchers in Ivory Coast. I want to ask me my question in French for the Professor of République démocratique du Congo. Bonjour, Professeur. Merci pour votre intervention. J'aimerais savoir, est-ce que la RDC n'a pas une politique d'éthique pour l'éducation? Parce qu'à vous entendre, on est un peu inquiet pour la RDC. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Yes, please go right ahead, sir. That's wonderful.
Thank you. La RDC a une politique. La RDC a une politique, cela se retrouve même dans la loi cadre de 2014 qui reconnaît aussi le basculement du système éducatif au processus de Bologne, en basculant vers le système licence, master, doctorat. Alors, maintenant, ce qui se passe, il y a quelque part les discours ou les textes, des bons textes d'une part, et d'autre part, les réalités du terrain. Lorsque vous arrivez dans les institutions d'enseignement, les discours, vous ne les voyez pas dans la pratique du terrain. On peut bien vous dire qu'on va accompagner les enseignants. Et là, mon expérience en tant que formateur des enseignants dans ce système LMD, on vous dit que voilà, on va équiper avec les ordinateurs, on va ceci. Eh bien, les textes sont là, mais lorsque vous entrez dans la réalité, donc vous allez voir qu'il n'y a pas de pratique. Des très bons textes, des très bons discours, et chaque fois que vous revenez sur ces questions-là, on dit qu'il n'y a pas de moyens. Donc, voilà un peu le problème qui se pose. Et beaucoup d'enseignants ici, lorsqu'on enseigne, par exemple, ces cours de technologie, les cours d'informatique, alors l'enseignant va se fier à faire quoi? À donner seulement la théorie, au lieu de le faire avec la pratique. Parce que vous voulez qu'il fasse un cours pratique avec l'ordinateur. Voilà. Il y a des institutions d'enseignement, je dis bien supérieures, qui n'ont pas d'ordinateur. Ça, je peux vous le dire. Donc, je peux partager mon article là-dessus, si vous voulez bien, pour que vous sachiez le niveau d'intégration des NTIC dans le processus LMD. Donc, lorsqu'on fait l'état des lieux, il y a beaucoup d'institutions et vous voyez l'infrastructure technologique pose beaucoup de problèmes. Les très bons discours, les très beaux textes sont là, mais ils ne sont pas accompagnés par la pratique. Et puis, je voulais, I would like to ask, to propose an answer to the question about how our higher education is taking things to a meaningful learning for students in this revolution process. I think that higher institutions are capitalizing this by collaboration with others in terms of bibliothèque numérique, de bibliothèque numérique et avec des données, avec le partenaire de l'éducation qui se trouve ici et là. Maintenant, the problem is that, the matter is that we have to prepare our students to use this relevant thing who are online. We have to prepare them too, because sometimes when you ask them to read the article, they find it that difficult. They do that, no, I haven't time, I'm chatting, or I have something special, but we have to prepare them too for that that work, because they have to be responsible of their education too. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Our young people are really tech savvy. They are right there in social media and all that. So they're already using technology. We just do want to channel it, that energy to a positive use of learning with metaverse and all these wonderful technologies that are coming up. We kind of just have about 3 minutes or so before this session is over. And I do want to take, if somebody has one more question that you can do like very quickly, because I'm about to call on Miss Sylvia Wayango, who is also part of the All Africa Students Union. If she has a quick wrap up summary for us before we close up this session. So I do want her to be ready while we take one or so more questions. Dr. Agleza from the University of Calabar in Nigeria. Please take the floor, ma'am. Could you unmute yourself? Unmute. Thank you. We still are not hearing you. We still cannot hear you. No, we can't hear you. Our tech folks okay, I see my tech lady here from AAU, Mrs. Dumo Mamini. Is there any help that I can get on her volume? Is it erase your volume? Yeah, we're good, go right ahead.
All right, I'm sorry about that. Yes, my question has to do with the lower levels of education, because those of us in tertiary education kind of expect the students to come to us with basic foundational education and skills so that we can build on what they already have. Now, speaking from the perspective of Nigeria, the primary schools do not even have the resources nor the technological know-how. The secondary schools are not doing any better either. You know, I mean, you would not imagine the kinds of turns and twists they go through in order to make it through the qualifying examinations to gain admissions into university. And for the lucky ones who make it into the universities, they work on their handset, the cell phone. I think it is really unrealistic to expect students to do quality academic work using a handset and a cell phone. We know what the issues are around technology and power supply and all of that good stuff, both at a personal level and at institutional levels. How do we prepare our children to be ready for tertiary education, technologically speaking? Thank you.
Very, very good question. Our time is basically up, but we're going to throw this up. I'm going to actually appoint somebody, if Mr. Samson Kofi, because he spoke so eloquently, but I don't think he has had a chance yet to answer any question. And if he's prepared, he can go ahead and take the floor. Other than that, we can open to any of the panelists or anybody. Go right ahead, sir.
Hi, Margaret. I think it's a very brilliant question. In terms of how do we prepare young people at the foundational level, it all boils down to revitalizing education in its holistic sense. Instead of, mine is that we revitalize higher education, but I think that we need to revitalize education right from the grassroots to the top. If we don't have if young people do not have the literacy and numeracy skills that they need, how do they even then comprehend how to write computer code? If they do not have access to IT training right from the bottom, how then do they do complex research, data science, artificial intelligence, and whatnot? So even as we are at the higher education level, we need to ensure that it feeds into a comprehensive approach to revitalizing education, specifically for the needs of the country and at large, because we cannot, delink
the needs of the continent from education. So if it's the aspiration of Nigeria to be the leading proof of concept hub in Africa, we need to ensure that education at every level feeds into that policy, and we're training people with the skills that they need, and we are ensuring that they have doors using those skills is, you know, ripe and set, and people would find things to do regardless of which level they exit from. So, you know, in all, I would say revitalizing education, being very intentional and a keen approach to fixing at every level is what we need to be able to tackle this problem.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if anybody else has a quick thing to add there, but I am very much in support in holistic revitalization, a comprehensive approach in the entire education system, in fact, starting from the households, before we even get into a pre-Ks, or getting into the primary and getting to secondary. Because if you did not have a good background to get into the university, you are at a disadvantage. It's not going to get any better to be there in 4 years. So the entire revitalization, starting with a decolonized mindset, is so important, and getting practical hands-on education, research-based, Afrocentric, in other words, something that is needed in Africa, and entrepreneurial. Let's not train our young people. So the entire transformation of our curriculum is extremely important, and the provision of the infrastructure needed from the get-go. So by the time we get into higher education, we are ready for it. So our young people get in there not being ready. And then our higher institutions are not even quite ready to adapt and be able to utilize the upcoming quote disruption for the benefit of education, the benefit of development, of course, make it sustainable for the continent. One of the things that I really do want to stress is the mindset of, if it comes from the West, or if it doesn't look like me, or doesn't have a pigmentation, it's better. No, we need to be able to know and appreciate who we are. We have quite a bit that we can adopt. So let me quickly say, if there is anybody else who has a quick thing to add to that before we wrap this up and move into the next session. Anybody else has a question, want to add? Okay.
Not a question, but just to say that I am aware about digital divide in Africa, in many other countries, but it should not be a barrier to get prepared. I am not here to promote metaverse or any other technology, but just to say we have more than 10 meta universities that are here. So we have to ask ourselves about that, and not just, as I said before, just stay and be passive, because technology will not wait until we get ready. And we had the same question, we asked ourselves the same question in 1990 when the internet comes to the world. Just years ago, I remember when the internet had been introduced in Algeria. People said, what's the internet? What's that? It's not a good technology, but the pandemic, we have to learn lessons from the pandemic, because not less than 200 million students went to digital learning.
All right. Thank you so much. That is so well spoken. We're going to wrap this session up. I know we were already 10 minutes behind time before we got in. We are not doing a tit for tat trying to get our 10 minutes back, okay? But we're going to be rolling in. And before I do that, I do want to call on Miss Sylvia Wayongo. If she can go ahead and give her input and a brief wrap up, we can leave the session. Miss Sylvia, you got the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. And our speakers have been fantastic. Our discussants have been also fantastic. It's been a mind-blowing session. And all submissions were on point. Everybody was solid for this session. And it's so exciting to know that we have a lot of people who are interested in our education, and not tertiary alone, but from crèche to tertiary. And I think that Africa will be great in some few years. And I've taken note of everybody's submission and everything on. I think after the session, the end of the day or tomorrow, Word documents of from me by a fantastic session. And to think that we have a lot of people who support Educ from the primary to test is a great start for us from the All African Student Union. Because if we look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which have quality and relevant education as the central theme to the attainment.
All right. Did she just get she got knocked out by technology? I think that's a good clue.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. It's right on the point. If you want to wrap that up within a minute, that would be
I'm so sorry for the technical hitch. But let me just cut it short by saying that thank you, speakers. Thank you to everybody who joined in. Thank you for your submission. And we hope this conversation will go on. Because this will go a long way for us to also whichever height we want to get and to progress part of the development. So I would send relevant docs for us to go through and for our session to also have a feel of what we talked about during the session. So everybody, it has been a fantastic, and we are going to make Africa great again. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We truly appreciate your summary of the session, ladies and gentlemen. It was a fantastic session. Thank you. Hey, Dr. Tani, you and I, we gotta connect. We gotta connect better. We live in the same time zone here in our central USA. Dr. Rogers, Mr. Adote, Ms. Veronica, Ms. Sylvia, and Ms. Rogers I mentioned. I know there is one person that I'm missing out there, and I cannot miss anybody. Adote, Roger, Ijumba, and the Zwagu. Thank you for this session and everybody for being here. I apologize that everyone did not get a chance to speak, but we love AAU. And with the Global Institute, of course, being our partner, we want to do more, getting the diaspora connected in the development of higher education in Africa. I see my sister there, and do more. Thank you so much. It's so hard to leave. It is so hard to leave, but another session is going on. So let's go right ahead, and I'll talk to you guys later. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Please
Bye.
join the plenary session going on right now with the link you used to join in the morning.
Absolutely.
Please.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Where is
Bye.
the link? Link,
I think we
please.
should register a picture of
The same link you use for the plenary.
Please, I shared the link on the message. On the message.
Can you share it on the chat?
Yes, I've shared it, please.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I've shared
All right,
it.
guys, just get on the chat and get on the next
Share it now, please.
session.
Please.
many hours to be here.
Please join. We are waiting for you.
Share the link, please. I want to join.
It's already on the chat. If you can see on the chat.
Share it again, so please check your message.
Yeah, it's out there.
Okay.
AAU. Look at 11:53 a.m. Look at 11:53 a.m. chat. All right, if you click on that, it should take you to the next session.
I see you.
All right, I'm gonna click that. Please don't go off yet. Wait for everybody to get. All right, have you? I'm clicking.
Please check the Zoom message chat. I've shared the link also there. You can join from there.
Yeah, we've seen it. I think 11:53 a.m. Thanks. I'm going.
Yes. Oh, no. It's the first one. Yes, it's the first one.
Yeah.
Young people should visit Rwanda. What's going on?
Yes, you have done so much about technology.
In the rural areas.
Okay.
Tablet
Okay.
for each child is on the table now.
Wow.
So that makes a difference.
Wow.
Okay, see you upstairs.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You will to go to your local.
I really want to
Your local, your student of East Africa. Yes. I will call your Kateri. Kateri. Yeah. Yes. Because I will go to your local to visit and to have to partnership with our network. Sure. Donc Friday. Okay. All right. Is it so far here? No, not so far. Just 5 minutes. Yeah. Thank you. The name again, sorry. Atse. Marcel.
They're waiting for you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Veronica. Janeiro.
October.
Yes.
But I have you I'll send you a message. You live in Cameroon. So you were there during the AFCON.
Yes.
Oh, I wish to come and see you, my colleagues. But the next one, yeah.